Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Enjoy. I'm your host, Jesse Rakusin. Today we'll explore the topic of honesty, authenticity, and the power inherent in truth. Yes, folks, as you explore the world and perceive and discern information, when you cultivate a mindset of feeling for and accepting only the truthfulness of truth, as truthy as you can get, the essence of the essence, get to the nature of nature, what's really going on, you can amplify what you cultivate through time. It will grow, it will flow, and it will transcend any limitations as it expands within yourself and you feel better and better and are able to better and better practice that mechanism of discerning truth. And why would you want to do that? For your spiritual, mental, and physical health and the health of your society. And to explore this topic first, let's talk about feeling and how we can feel authenticity and feel when people feel. Now, feeling when people feel is different than when people feel truth. When we feel when people feel, that can be noticed very readily in music. If you have someone go on stage and they're just not very into it that night, and they're not willing to allow themselves to really feel it, the audience likely will feel that lack of feeling. And in art and in music, you can create fantasy that is valid. Everything is true in art. If from a certain mind spectrum, a mindset of psychology and a deep sympathy with people, any art can be interesting, any art can be valid and can be helpful for that person to, well, I don't know if helpful for that person to produce, but if they did produce it, we'll embrace it, I guess. Yeah, so truth. Why do we want it? What is it good for? Well, it's good for feeling good. It's good for feeling healthy. It's good for feeling healthy as a society. And where are some examples of where our society has become distorted? And, I think one of the great fears of people is that if they detach themselves from an identity of believing in a dogma of limitation, such as one particular religion or one sect of a religion or another, or one identity over more essential truth, such as believing in your race more than believing in being human, or believing in your religion more than believing in being ethical. We want to be attaching ourselves to more essential qualities and essential ideas, I think, for the health of other people. I think a lot of people would have lived if people were more attached to their humanity rather than their different divisions, the different ways that we've been divided. We've encountered this world of seeming division, which in itself is an illusion. And the way to transcend that is through sympathy, of course. When we sympathize, we transcend the illusion of division and we understand. So that's often how we can parse through and discern different information we're getting, is by, one, sympathizing with it, but sympathizing with it with our attachment being to, the essence of truth as being what the arbiter of what we accept and reflect and, cultivate within our own lives and our society. So I think conspiratorial thinking and of a ridiculous, absurd, moronic degree has been prevalent in our society as of late. And we have to think, how could this possibly be the case, right? And one way I think that kind of explains it is how we adhere to and accept and actually promote in our society uh, different mythologies as truth, when in fact they are mythologies. It's a mythology, and we are mythologizing, um, our own lives and our own stories of our life as we go around the world. Um, and also, we are encountering many different mythologies and stories from different cultures, from different writers, from different uh, motivations, you know, and but they are just that. Anything written down is written down by a human, and written down in a certain time with, the tools of the world that they have, and at that time, and the language that they have. And one good way to be timeless is often to kind of refer to more essential timeless things, like everyone has trees. If Jesus was on his Instagram, it would make sense in 2020. But if Moses was on his MySpace, we'd think, hey, why is he on MySpace? It's 2020. However, if he was next to a tree, that tree is a tree. A tree is a tree now. A tree is a tree, we hope, in 1,000 years from now. Um, so one example of conspiracy that is quite prevalent and popular right now is, I have heard recently that 50% of something like that, Fox viewers, viewers of the Fox News Network, believe that Bill Gates started the virus which is responsible for a pandemic that is spread across the globe. Currently, we have almost 100,000 dead in America, and millions of cases worldwide, and it's quite a trial for our country and our world. I hope, if we're viewing this from the future, that we have successfully, passed this test and solved this problem. But dishonesty and distortion is not going to help. Um, so it's another reason why, within our own habits of our own lives, we can see that, hey, if we know that we should stop smoking or something like that, that's going to obviously be beneficial for us. If we do, then we're going to have the result and feel better. In the same way as a society, if we promote different distorted ideas and don't have the ability or the will to promote the discernment of them in a truthful way, it's dangerous, and it just doesn't feel good. Everything just, I guess we're, there's a word, a hedonist. I'm just a hedonist. I just want to feel good. I want everyone to feel good. And truth feels good. And health feels good. And being alive feels good in this dimension. And it's awesome. It's terrific to be in truth. So what is going on with 50% of people, who watch Fox News, thinking that Bill Gates, the second richest man on earth, started a virus? Why would he do that? Why would he do that? And does that have anything to do with 5G? No. Stop lying. Stop the lying. Don't allow, stand up for truth. I think everyone just, and again, I think religion, because of the way that religion is handled in our current times in society and what's promoted as the consensus reality, plays a role in this sort of distortion. I love religion. I love the myths of religion. I love the lessons of the stories that are inherent in religion, and the archetypical characters, and this, the lessons of the wisdom of the religions, where it's present and where it's not distorted, and where it's interpreted as myth, and where it's interpreted in a way that you can also interpret any story or anything in your life too. A comic book, a movie. There's amazing truth and life-changing, enlightenment possible to, be attained through comic books, through through movies, through any sort of art form where people express their realization and explore, and then probably realize more through that exploration as I am through this video, which is one of the reasons I'm doing it, I think, it seems. So we want to be cultivating truth as a society, as people. It feels good. It is good. It is goodness. It's not deviance. You know, deviance has the same root as the devil, which don't get scared, you know. It's just deviance. It's just wrongness. It is, I mean, if anything should be scary, I guess it should be that, you know, especially if it's willful. And that's where we need to start standing up. And when we hear that voice of truth inside, you know, let it come out, activate your throat chakra, you know, and let it shine, you know. So the more that people shine their truth, and the more that, you know, and not, when I say their truth, it almost sounds like individuals, the truth. It's not your truth. You don't have a truth that's true for, there is the truth. It is a thing. You know, there is a spectrum of truth. And maybe we can never be 100% accurate with it, but you can be very, very close. You know, you can always use more language to be more subtle with your explanations, and I really try, you know, I think a lot of times to just be very careful to not have any way to counter what I'm saying, but there's always going to be a way to counter. There's always you know, a devil's advocate or something like that, or a way to you know, parse what someone's saying and say, hey, it's not the earth, man, it's the universe. You know, it's not the universe. Hey, it's just molecules. It's, you know, it's atoms. It's, you know, so, you know, words, as we've talked about in the first video, are quite limiting, and we we navigate with this map of limitation, and the map is not the territory. So we have to, you know, remember that we're just navigating, and the truth is always present and here and now. And the more that we get our kind of ego out of the way and perceive naturally, we can feel more in our bodies and more what the truth actually is. You know, and the truth is reflected in our health, in our mental health, but even in the current moment, you can often feel truth. You can feel different emotions. They say there's the common expression of a weight has been lifted off of me, or I feel like you know, 1,000 times lighter because I got the truth off of my shoulders. You know, we feel things in our body. There's a heaviness. There's a wrongness to distortion and lies. So no, Bill Gates did not start the coronavirus. The world is not flat. All of the astronauts are not lying. One good, you know, good method for discerning the truth of any potential conspiracy, I think, is how many people would have to be involved. And are all those people lying? Really? They're all bought off? I mean, so religion is a wonderful thing, but when in our society we promote and adhere, you know, to one myth or one story as the truth, or, you know, a valid way to think, it's okay just to say, you know, it's all Jesus, or it's all this, or it's all that, you know, or Allah, or whatever. It's not, that's just one map. You know, you can learn from that myth, you can learn from using those words, but don't get caught in the word. Don't, you know, let the word distract you from the essence. You know, don't let being white or being black or being whatever distract you from being human, which is a more essential quality. And, you know, even more essential than that is nature. So don't let being human distract you from, you know, being part of the earth and being part of, you know, a unanimity, a harmony with animals. So what we want to be cultivating is bliss and harmony, and the way to do that is truth, in essence, and realization of truth can be cultivated, and through time you can get more and more on it. And I think that's actually what enlightenment is, and what it comes, you know, how it manifests in your life is you just become more and more accurate with your perceptions, to the point where you are more and more in harmony and unified with nature, and you feel that bliss of harmony when the whole band's playing together. no one's going off on their own thing, but people are just have dropped their egos and it's in harmony and it's beautiful. And we want that as a society in our families and our relationship with ourselves, with the way that we, relate to food, that we relate to other people, and as we relate as a society and as countries to each other. So let's be truthful. The truth is, no one wants to be sad. No one wants to, you know, no one wants to hurt. No one wants to suffer. So why is there war? Why, people just drop the team, drop the German team and the other team, the Jew team, all these different teams that people, try to force on themselves, and it's all a lie. We're human. That's more essential than the Nazi team or the Jew team or the Palestine team or whatever. Or the Jew team, or, I said Jews again because I was thinking about the Israeli government in Palestine, but not to harp on the Jews, or the African team, or all these different identities that we have. You have to realize those are maps that we use to navigate, but it's not as essential of a truth. On the spectrum of truth, it's not as an essential alignment of harmony as truth as a unification or a harmonious way of perceiving the world would be. So let's cultivate truth. Let's stand up for truth. When you hear people try to say things that you know are untrue about maybe vaccines, or they have a point, or they have something, I'm not saying people with vaccines have anti-vaxxers have a point. I do think people who are anti-pharmaceutical companies have a point. I think pharmaceuticals are overprescribed, and maybe vaccinations can be overprescribed. But that doesn't mean, and we can be sophisticated with our, kind of discernment. That doesn't mean that all vaccinations or all, pharmaceuticals don't have a place. And as far as viruses and things like that, believe me, well, if you want to believe, a lot of scientists and things, there'd be a lot of dead people. There'd be a lot of people who are alive on this earth without vaccinations. There would I'm talking fast. There would be a lot of people not alive on this earth without vaccinations. There are a lot of people who are alive on this earth because of them. And if you just say the word vaccination, you might have different things attached to that. What it actually is they give you a little bit of the thing, you learn to fight it off, and then when you encounter it in the world, you've gained that knowledge. Your system has taken a simple form of it that it can, learn from, and then when it encounters more, more of this matter, more of this organism in the world, which it's the viruses, it's its own, survival, everything, its own survival strategy is based on you being its host, and that's not necessarily good for you. It might kill you. It spreads around this world through you and through different people and through different animals. I guess first with the bats, I think, right? Or there's a paladine or something. There's another animal. Palanquin, something. It has scales. Looks like an anteater or something. But yeah, so these viruses have their own survival strategies, and if you don't want to be party to that, if you are more attached to the human, and your own family and your own living, then you're attached to that virus, then, let's use our tool of being able to take a little bit of it, fight it off, and then when we encounter it, we can fight off the whole thing. It makes sense to me, at least. I understand it. And I think there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of, willful miseducation. I think a lot of people, as I mentioned, don't think there actually is a truth, where they think that everyone's opinion can be valid. Oh, that's your opinion. That's your opinion. That's, this is my opinion. That's just ego, and ego is the ultimate distortion. When we think we're separate, and we think, things are separate, when we think that that's the ultimate lie, really. That's the ultimate illusion. Everything is one unified thing, and language makes it seem separate. And not to say that language is a lie, but language is a tool which, limits. It looks for definition in an infinity. So there's always a paradox, and through the balance of that paradox, we can navigate. We can use that tool, and we can navigate, and we can proceed. but it's constantly being refined in time, and it's constantly also a tool that can be realized is arbitrary, and it's not necessary, and there's always a silence behind the sound, and that silence is the unity, the clear light, the light shining through the prism of time space. So let's cultivate truth. Let's feel good. Let's be, live our truth and speak up for it. And it will be a wonderful experience and experiment, and it will be terrific. So I invite you to proceed in joy.